All right.
All right.
Here we go.
You ready?
We are.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Rene Boer, and I'm here with my cycling buddy, Tommy O'Donnell, and this is day 14. So we got started early this morning in Marine City, Ontario, and rode 80 miles to Port Stanley, right on the shores of Lake Erie.
Yeah.
And we are more than halfway across the country. Actually, it's across this leg of the to Portland, Maine. So we just had dinner at the Kettle Creek Inn here in Port Stanley. The food was fabulous. If you're ever in Port Stanley, you got to stop here. Our hostess Sandra was wonderful. She shuffled us off to a private dining room.
Wow.
So,
That's right.
yeah, we're getting 4-star treatment.
Yeah, with Wi-Fi.
Right, with Wi-Fi. And today we said goodbye to our friends, Sonny and Jonathan.
Yeah, they
who
were
came
great.
up from Dallas and spent the last 2 days with us.
Yeah, we dropped them off in Detroit, and that was the end of their trip. So it was good.
Yeah.
We had fun.
So Tommy, let's introduce
All right.
tonight's guest.
Tonight's guest is Karen O'Donnell, my wife.
I was going to say, any relation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get that disclaimer.
Yeah. So that's how I know her, if you're wondering.
And that's how she got on the program?
Absolutely.
Special treatment?
You have to know
Okay.
somebody,
Leadership.
you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to know somebody. That's true.
Yes.
So Karen, we have the question of the day for you is from Jordan Atwater. And we're going to give you the question now, but then we want to ask you some questions before you answer it for everyone. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So this is from Jordan Atwater at North Lawndale College Prep. And the question is, will life be any easier when you surround yourself with goal-oriented people? So we're going to let you think about that for a minute. But we've got some questions that we'd love to ask you. So,
All right.
want to start us off here?
All right. So give us a brief background of who you are, where you grew up, all the awesome things that you've done.
So Karen, I've heard a lot of your stories, so I know this is going to be really, really.
Oh yeah.
So I was born and raised in El Salvador, and that's the smallest country in Central America. And I had a very adventurous childhood. And the best way I can describe it, put it kind of in a nutshell, is a combination of Mowgli from the Jungle Book and Huckleberry Finn. All a combination of that.
Okay.
I grew up in a village, and my grandparents on my dad's side, they are more native, descended from the Mayans, and lived in a very rural area along a riverbank. No electricity, no running water, no indoor plumbing, nothing. You're literally camping, living off the land. And that was quite interesting. Learned a lot about the land. And on my mother's side, we would visit. Now, we lived in the middle. So we were in between these two amazing worlds, even though we're in the same village. On my mother's side, we were closer to the highway, and they had electricity, not indoor plumbing, but water. We would get water maybe once a month. It all depends. If not, we would collect rainwater. We had an outhouse, and so just between having electricity alone made a huge difference, because for one set of the grandparents, there was no TV. You went to bed when the sun went down, but the other set of grandparents, there was electricity and there was TV, and you know, you didn't have to go to bed as soon as the sun went down. And
Sure.
and I was in the middle of that, and we did have electricity, even though sometimes it wasn't reliable. But and I was close to the highway, so it was a mix of both.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And what brought you to the U.S.?
My parents came here for work. There was difficult times. There was a civil war in El Salvador at the time, and my dad, even though he was the first one in his family to graduate high school and have a degree as an accountant, there were no jobs. So they were forced to migrate. They came here, and that was when I was 6 years old. And at that time, my brother is only a year older than me. And my parents came, they worked, we got our visas, and we didn't get to see our parents for 6 years until they came back to El Salvador to pick us up.
Yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
A little story. So what are you working on now? I know you've got a couple of interesting projects.
Yes, so after I came to the States, and I was 13, I went to high school, college, and I worked for 15 years as a physical therapist assistant. Loved that job, and now I'm pursuing new business ventures as a motivational speaker and as an author. Right now I'm working on 2 books. One of them is a picture book that it's based on my children and an adventure we did, cross-country RV trip from LA to Pennsylvania, where we used to live. And we stopped different iconic historic places. And that's what the first book is about. And that one is called Pepe and Paco Cross-Country Adventure. And the second book is My Friend the Mango Tree, Little Nuggets of Wisdom. That one is based on my childhood stories, and providing an insight or a little bit of wisdom about how I grew up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting listening to your story. That there's so many things that we just take absolutely for granted, being in a place like the United States, where everybody has running water. Everybody has pretty much a roof over their head. It just has some basic things that maybe you didn't have.
Yeah.
Yes, and things like water it was a big thing. Indoor plumbing, it was a big thing. And many times people ask me, what was the one thing I was most grateful for when I came to the States? And that was the bathroom. Hands down, having a toilet was a big deal. And it's something that we all use every day, but yet we take it for granted.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your educational experience.
So when I came to the United States, I was 13. I didn't know a word of English, and my parents bought a house in Palmerton, Pennsylvania, and there was one other family who spoke Spanish in the town, but they didn't have any children that went to the school. So my brother and I was 13, my brother 14, we were the first in the history of the school to not speak English. So that was a challenge, but it was a good challenge because I learned a lot from it. And thanks to our guidance counselor, she really helped us, and most of all believed in me. She really saw and praised me for how hard I was working. And I started to notice that, and that meant a lot to me. And because of that response and the positive attention I was getting because I was working hard and excelling at school, she truly provided me with the advice that I needed, because truly I didn't know the school system at all. And I went to college, and I was the first in my family to graduate with a college degree.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, how did you learn English when you were 13 years old? Because you and I have a little bit of a similar experience in terms of growing up. I'll share mine in a minute. But how did you learn English?
Watching TV. My parents had spent a lot of money on this very popular at that time system to learn. They had cassette tapes, they had books, workbooks, and it's just not the way I learned. And I started watching TV. The show Saved by the Bell was about, teenagers in high school, and I could relate to it. And I would watch it religiously. I would know all the words. I had memorized it, and I didn't know what I was saying, but it helped me a lot with the pronunciation.
Sure. Yeah. So I was actually born in the Netherlands and came over when I was almost 5 years old. Similar experience, went to grade school. It was probably easier for me to learn English than you, but I went to grade school really not speaking English very well or understanding the language, but we learned English the same way. We watched television. So my mom stayed home and took care of the family, and we would watch I Love Lucy.
No.
So it's amazing that I don't have a Spanish accent. But I think when you're really young, it's easy to learn, and I think as you get older, it gets a little bit harder. So good for you.
Yeah, that's great.
So what's the most valuable lesson that you've learned in life?
To believe in myself. You happen to doubt yourself a lot when you have a lot of challenges in life, and you begin to question if you can truly succeed. And that's something I'm continue to learn. I continue to learn to believe in myself more. Self-esteem is a big thing, which is something I find quite common in children who have endured a lot of adversity. And a lot of times, though, although it might seem difficult or something to overcome, it is actually early wisdom. You often find children who go through a lot of adversity and overcome it to be wiser beyond their years. That's often how people refer to them as. And the reason being is because we get exposed to those experiences, for as difficult as they may be. But that is wisdom right there. That is something that, maybe others take a little longer to experience and acquire that valuable knowledge to have good judgment. So that definitely has been my major lesson for me.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just taking notes because although I have a good memory, it's short. So I always like to, And then I also take notes because Tommy's always asking me, what did they say yesterday? So I do it for Tommy.
Good. Tommy's not a note taker.
Yeah, oh, he's not. You noticed
he's
that.
Not a note taker.
No, I got it up here. Don't worry.
Skill trap.
I'll just skill trap. You got your hands stuck in the steel trap here. So here's one for you. Who's been the biggest influence in your life? Who's had the biggest impact on you?
My mother, hands down. She is an incredible human being, resilient. She was only able to go to school up to the 6th grade. And then later on, she was a young mother, but she continued to work and put herself through night school up to 9th grade. And her math skills were incredible. And she just worked so hard. And at that time, how she grew up, if I overcame adversity, imagine how much more she had to overcome.
Sure.
And it's just definitely, I admire her strength. I've learned a lot from her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. So are you ready for our question of the day?
Absolutely.
All right. Here we go.
All right. So Jordan Atwater, right, asks, all right, what was the question? All right. Will life...
Did you make notes?
I'll read your notes.
Oh. I rest my case.
Will life be any easier when you surround yourself with goal-oriented people?
Oh, this is a good one. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jordan, for asking that question. And in my case, yes. Now, not everybody else is like me. I respond well to being challenged. And my grandmother always used to say, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. So if you surround yourself with people who set goals, and let's assume they're really good life goals, it might rub off on you. And if you respond well to challenges aren't always negative. Sometimes if you're surrounding yourself with somebody who sets goals, they're really good goals that inspire you to achieve more and be a better person. Absolutely. Now, will it make your life easier? Once you achieve the goals, yes. It might not be the easy road to take, but nothing that's worthwhile is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we first read that question, we thought, well, this will be a pretty straightforward, easy to answer question. But then we started having a conversation, Tommy and I did, about, well, wait a minute now, hang on. It depends how you look at this question.
Yeah, because it was kind of like you could be looking at it almost like Keeping Up with the Joneses kind of a thing, where you're always trying to just compare yourself to others. If you're always surrounded with high achievers and you're always kind of like trying to keep up, that was one kind of variation of how we were thinking of it.
Well, and then the other variation of it, as a leader, if you surround yourself with people who are goal-oriented, I think the challenge is there some alignment, and can I help you meet your goals, right? Because everyone has different goals in life, and so my background is restaurants, and I just remember that, we had a lot of people who would work at a restaurant, and they had goals. Their goals were, I want to earn enough money to be able to go to college, and so I'm only going to be here for 2 years or 3 years. And how do you get those kind of goals to align with, hey, we're here to serve customers great food in a great environment, and is there some commonality here where I'll help you meet your goals, you help me meet mine, and it's kind of a two-way street. So I think, in that vein, it may not necessarily be easier, it may be more of a challenge, but it sure is a heck of a lot more fun when it's a win-win.
Yeah,
you're helping each other meet their goals.
Right.
Yes, which when I first read it, it made me think of what my grandmother used to say, because again, if it is those good people you're surrounding yourself with that are going to challenge you to be a better person or to achieve more, then absolutely. But if, like you said, it all depends of what kind of goals. As a leader, it's always important to set that. And it's all a matter how you look at it, how you are, and also because, like you said, keeping up with the Joneses is not always good. You don't want to be depressed. If you're happy just having what you're having, so be it, but not comparing yourself to others. But if you're setting goals that are going to challenge you to be a better person, absolutely.
Yeah. So great question from Jordan.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
I think Jordan's going to have us thinking about this all day tomorrow, too. We've exhausted everything on this particular question. The other thing I'd say, too, is all of the questions that we've had from the students in North Lawndale have been outstanding. And they've really challenged our guests to do some thinking about it. And really appreciate your response to this question as well. That's great. I'd love to meet your grandmother if that would ever be. And your mom, that whole thing about show me your friends and I'll have a pretty good idea of who you are.
What is that saying in Spanish? Because I know you translate it to the English version.
Yes. Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. So it's a bit of a version of you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And I looked it up, and I believe it comes back from Socrates, but it's a saying that's extremely popular, recognizable. And my grandmother, she always talked in riddles and sayings, and they've stayed in my head. And that is the one that has proven over and over again to be valuable to me. Because as a leader, many people ask me, well, how did you get to where you are? And I look back, and going back as far as high school and the guidance counselor that made it that difference in my life is just whoever you surround yourself with.
Yeah, cool. So we may as well let the cat out of the bag, because we're thinking about next year continuing this ride. And we're talking about going. Yeah, we're having so much fun. Why stop, right? So no, we're talking about biking. We're going to start planning this biking around Lake Michigan, and we thought it would be great to have you join us. There might be a cycling career. Yeah, there might be a cycling career in your future.
In my future?
You may not know it yet, but
maybe give me content for another book. How about that?
There you go.
There's a lot of scenic places.
There's a lot of scenic places. We've got a lot of very interesting people.
Well, when you crossed Lake Michigan, I did some research, and there is you're able to go around all of the Great Lakes. Not biking necessarily, but you're able to travel around all the Great Lakes.
Oh, but driving. You know what the distance is?
I'm not
sure. Like 6,500.
I believe it.
6,500 miles.
I believe it was 6,500.
Yeah.
Wow, Tommy, you remember, because I did the research and I didn't want to quote myself on it.
Trap.
I think he actually used one of these. It's called a pen. It's called a pen, Tom.
I highly doubt he used one of those. I do the research, I tell it to him, and he has the knowledge.
I grabbed the stylus the other day for his laptop. Thinking, this thing isn't working. What the heck is going on? Anyway.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. And what we're
why are you doing this for?
Exactly. Right. So every day we're doing these interviews, of course, and biking across the country to raise money for North Lawndale College Prep. And
how can people do that?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this interview on Facebook, and there's going to be a link to a donate button, and you can donate there.
Yeah, cool. And is any amount too large?
No amount is too large.
It's too large.
Yeah. You just anything will do.
Okay.
Excellent. And the funds are going to North Lawndale College Prep, correct?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Yeah. So just sending help with paying for books when they're in college, or because they support them while at college. They just support them through their whole journey. So they that's what the money will be.
Excellent. I definitely would love to visit their school and would love to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
I am sure just even with the questions that they've come up with, it shows that they have a lot of wisdom and knowledge that they're acquiring.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if we can arrange that on your next trip to Chicago.
That would be good. Yeah.
That would be amazing. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
So tomorrow we're currently in Port Stanley, and we're going to ride to Port Dover, which is about 60 miles tomorrow. And we're riding all along Lake Erie.
Wow, nice.
So,
yeah. Very cool.
Nice.
Yep. That's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me. And Jordan, thank you for the good questions. Very thought-provoking question.
All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.